What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. In this one, you're going to hopefully get to hear the 47cc performance engine run for the very first time. So let's get started. So before we get into the startup attempts, let's do a walk around of the engine stand. So this is what I came up with for it. It's just on a piece of pallet wood here. We always have a lot of these laying around, so I knew that I was going to be using this for sure. And it's just hanging off the edge because, as you can see, the pipe hangs lower. But I've only got a couple of engine mount screws in there because I needed them to be pretty long to compensate for this thick board, and I just only had two laying around. But it is very solid, as you can see, not going anywhere. Yeah, for the pipe here, I had to throw another piece of pallet board on here because I wanted this to sit up more. Without this piece of pallet, it would be sitting probably all the way down here, honestly, for this mount right here. It's not the greatest setup, I noticed, if you don't have any screw here, because the two spring setups on the pipe here kind of make this very loose, and really, yeah, like I said, it hangs a lot. There's a lot of play up and down if you don't have a screw in the mount here, but hey, I guess that's there for a reason, and that's why I needed to throw this extra board here. But for the gas tank, I literally just have it on a upside down planter right here. It works really well so far. There's already pre-existing holes because planters usually have those, so I ended up just kind of making it a little bit bigger, and I think the gas line is on this side of it, so yeah, I didn't even have to drill a new hole. I just kind of widened it out a little bit and stuck that down in there. Works out pretty well. I just used a couple screws to have it, you know, stable on here. I want everything to be stable. This thing vibrates a lot when it's running, and we ended up just grounding it to the four-wheeler right here. This was part of the troubleshooting of trying to get it started. I'll show you guys those clips here in a minute, but yeah, I just didn't have it grounded at first, and obviously we needed it grounded to get good spark. So yeah, this is how that's set up. It honestly works out really well. It's, you know, waist high for me, so I can easily start it up this way, no problem at all. But for the stand in the future, I'll probably end up having a little zip tie or something holding this away from the exhaust pipe. Obviously, the exhaust gets pretty hot, so I don't want the fuel line right on it like that. But other than that, everything's pretty straightforward. I ended up using actually the rear brake bracket, or rear brake cable for the Pokemon bike. This will have to go eventually. It's really kind of crappy. It doesn't pull well, but it does do the job. It just, yeah, the inside needs to be lubed up, or I just need to get a new one. But I did have to end up grinding away some of the material. Let's save that till the end. I'll open up this carburetor and show you how the actual end looks to make it work for the Dalorto. And for those of you that tuned into the last episode, that piston hitting the top of the cylinder head issue, I ended up just for now stacking a couple gaskets on the actual cylinder. So now we're just running 4 gaskets to the case onto the cylinder. I spent about an hour using my gasket maker and cutting out some really nice ones. So for now, that'll be the case. I didn't see any copper ones out there. That way, you know, I don't want this to compress so much that it starts hitting again, but for now, like I said, temporary fix. Back to the troubleshooting, along with the grounding out of the engine, the spark plug also had no gap in it. No wonder we've got nothing. Look at that gap. There's no gap. I assume it was like that because when that piston issue was happening, basically the piston was running into that spark plug gap, closing it all the way up, leaving no room for it to have any spark. So I had to open up that gap again, and we ended up getting spark after a little bit of messing around with it, getting that gap just right. These can be pretty picky, so just keep that in mind. It was really hard to see the spark too because it's such a small engine. But that's about it for the engine run stand, guys, and this is what I came up with for the Dalorto carburetor bracket that I was telling you I probably would have to do in that install video we did on it. This is the bracket right here. It hooks up to the upper right intake bolt here, shoots across, and hooks onto the carburetor mount right here, and this keeps it from going left and right and doesn't come off either this way. So if you need a reference, just do it this way. Works out. It's a very tight fit, as you can see, but this is pretty much the way you got to do it. There's a few different other ways you can do it actually, but this is the way I did it, and very solid, guys. Then to cover me from the critics that might notice that the air filter is off when I'm running the engine, and that's only because right now it vibrates off. It doesn't have that plastic cover that was pretty restricting, but yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I've only had the engine running for a couple of minutes so far. Nothing's going inside of the carburetor, so it's pretty safe. Just have to come up with a way to keep that filter on there. Now we're ready to start up this beast. With the help of my dad, he's gonna end up pulling it for me, so that way I can film around the engine and kind of show you what's going on while it's idling. I'll just throw in all the clips that we had of it, because there's a little bit of adjusting with the idlies too. We were trying to tune it up a little bit, trying to get it just right, because originally it needed a little bit of throttle while running just because of the idlies adjustment there. But yeah, enjoy the engine. That's how she sounds, boys and girls. I'm pretty satisfied with it so far, I have to say, and I'll just quickly run over the upgrades videos that we have out there for this actual engine. So obviously we did the big bore kit on this engine. The full circle crank is in there. We did the carbon fiber reed, the performance carburetor, Dalorto, and that opens up the fuel diameter. We did the performance pipe. This was probably the most expensive mod, honestly, but worth it, and that's about it so far. I do have flywheel ideas coming, and I do have that performance clutch still laying around, so now that I have it actually started, I can consider throwing that in there as well to just add to the mayhem here. But like I said, very satisfied with the first couple minutes of the engine running here. And by the way, guys, when you're breaking in the engine, 25-to-1 mix. I used high performance 2-stroke oil and premium gas just to be safe. And yeah, I just have a gallon of it, so I'll probably just end up running through that and call it good for the break-in stages. Now I appreciate everyone's input on the bike that I posted up on the community part of my channel. I'm probably not going to end up actually going with that because it does have that different mounting, and I asked the guy and confirmed that it is a larger bike size, and there was someone that called it out in the comment section, which is totally right. If we throw this on a bigger size pocket bike, it's just not going to do the performance that we would honestly hope for that it should be doing, because it should be on a smaller size pocket bike that it actually works with. Even though that thing was in very good condition, If it's still up there later on, honestly, I could find a use for that bike still. $100, I can probably talk them down to at least, 75 or so, maybe 60. But yeah, guys, probably not the right choice for this engine though. Oh yeah, and I know I said that I would take this off and show you guys how I had to modify it, but I'll end up just holding off on showing you guys that because, like I said, it's kind of a crappy setup. Probably end up wanting to change this out at some point, and then I can show you guys how it needs to be modified. It's honestly not that hard to do, but there's a little bit of shaving to do on this end of it. So there you have it, guys. The engine is in the break-in stage, and it is going really well so far. We're just adjusting the idlies as we go, but yeah, so far this thing is running very nice with the Dalorto on there. I was kind of getting worried that I was going to have to adjust the jets a lot with the Dalorto, but no adjusting yet. It seems like I can just tune it up. I haven't ran it full throttle, obviously, to see how it gets fuel, but it's going well so far. We can't do that quite yet. Like I said, we're in the break-in stages, but it's going well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of final part of the actual build, not the final part ever of this engine. We still have to get a bike for it to go in, or something for it to go in at least. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.